welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to be doing today for you is I'm going to be doing my step-by-step tutorial on how I did the planned color pooling technique. Now there's a number of ways that you can do this. This is just what worked for me and how I did it. My first video was actually a time lapse of me doing this technique for the very first time actually. And the way I learnt was through a tutorial run by Anne at Glamour for You. So I'll make sure that I have her video and her post linked below. So let's jump right into it. So the way that I worked mine wasn't by the number of stitches that you started with. I actually used mine going through the number of colour sequences that you have. So what does that mean? So the first thing that you need to do is to determine the colour sequence of your variegated yarn. So I'm just using a 8-ply acrylic pink and purple yarn today. So let's have a look. Okay, so first up I've got a light pink, and then we've got a lavender, and then a hot pink, and then a dark purple, and then a hot pink, lavender, and then we're back to the light pink. Okay, so that is one colour sequence. So first thing that we do is actually make a foundation row one whole way through the colour sequence. So it's very important that you start at the beginning of a colour. Now this pink is not the full length of the pink in the colour sequence, so I'm going to start at this purple. So let's go. So we're just chaining all of the way through the colour sequence for the first time. So that's our purple done. Now we've got hot pink. Now we've got the dark purple. Now we are back to hot pink again. Then we're back to lavender. And now our last colour is the light pink for a full length of the light pink. Okay, so that, we might go one more. Okay, so that is the start of the next colour sequence. Okay, so now we're going to turn our work. So this technique's best done in moss stitch. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the moss stitch through another colour sequence, but it's actually not going to take us straight all the way through to the end of our chain. We are going to have some left over, and that's because it's going to take more yarn to do the moss stitch than it is for the foundation chain. Okay, so to start the moss stitch, what we're going to be doing is single crocheting into the 4th chain from the hook. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll be starting with purple. That's going to be the first colour of our next sequence. So this is the colour that we started with on the foundation chain. Okay, so we go into the chain, pull the loop through, and then wrap the yarn and pull it through both. So our stitch is actually going to be 3 chains high. So the next part of the moss stitch is you chain 1, skip the next chain, and then chain into the next. Okay, so that's the next stitch. So we chain 1 again. So now you can see we're back to hot pink, and so out of that purple chain we've actually only got to moss stitch. So that's why it takes more yarn to do the moss stitch than it does the foundation chain. So let's keep going. Okay, so we've done our chain one, so we'll skip this chain and we're going to go into the next one. Chain one, skip one, okay, so we're into the dark purple. So skip one into the next. Okay, back to hot pink again. You can see here how the two lengths of hot pink have matched up. Okay, so then we're back to lavender. So we'll just finish all the way through the lavender. Okay, so then we're back to light pink. So now you can see that we've actually stitched through our second sequence. So we've gone lavender, hot pink, dark purple, hot pink, lavender, light pink. On this side we've gone lavender, hot pink, dark purple, hot pink, lavender, light pink. So as I've said, it does take more yarn to do the moss stitch than it does to make a simple chain. So that's why we've ended up with extra chains at the end. And we'll talk about what to do with them a bit later. Back to our sample. Now what we are wanting the stitches to do, or the colour to do, is actually shift. So you can see here the light pink is shifting diagonally. And here the purple, the lavender is shifting. So if we continued on in this manner and just flipped it and started it again, all of the colours would be stacked up on top of themselves. And that's not what we want. We actually want the colours to shift. So how we would achieve that would be actually to remove the first stitch and chain of the second row, and what that will do, it will actually offset the next sequence of colour by one stitch and one chain. So that will cause the next row of purple to come out by one stitch. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll remove the stitch and we're going to remove the chain. So you can see the extra pink that has left. So that's how much the chains and the stitches are actually going to be offset by. Okay, so now that we've removed the one chain and the one stitch, we don't really need to keep track of the colour sequences anymore. We're just going to be doing plain and simple rows. And as the colour shifts, the pattern will come out. But we don't necessarily need to keep track of that anymore as we did in the first two rows. So to start the next row, we turn our work. Chain two, and what we're going to be doing is actually chaining into the space that the single chain has created. So we go in, grab the yarn, we've got 2 loops through and then single chain. And we're just going to keep that going all the way to the end of the row. Now I am using a 5mm crochet hook. Depending on your tension and your individual preferences, you might need to play around with hook size a little bit and just go up or down. I found that the 5mm works for me. Now with regards to yarn, what's generally recommended is a yarn with a variegation of colour change that's between 6 and 12 inches. If you have changing colour that's less than that, it's going to produce a speckled effect, so you're just going to have tiny little clumps of colour all through, which would be nice but not necessarily produce this pattern. And if you have any more than that, it's going to produce more solid stripes. So you can have any number of colours, just as long as they are in between those recommendations. So between about 6 and 12 inches. Okay, so we're at the last stitch now. So that's going to be going in between the first stitch and the first chains that we made. There's our third row. So this pattern generally doesn't start to show itself until you're about 10 rows in. And you can see that the hot pink started to head this direction. So that's just that 1 stitch difference between the rows is actually shifting the colour sequences across. You can see with the light pink, it's doing the same. I'll just go ahead and I'll do a few more rows and then I'll come back and show you how I've gone. Okay guys, so I'm back now. I've worked up some rows, so we've got a good size swatch just to demonstrate the pattern. So you can see that the light pink is shifting inwards to this little pool of colour, and then it shifts outward again with little pools on the side and then back in again. So that would continue all the way through. Likewise, you can see that purple, let's take it here, the dark purple, well, it comes out from here, has a little pool here, moves on in to a little pool in the middle, and then heads out again. So if we take the light pink, just because it's the one that comes through best on the camera, you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches going across, and they're shifting by 1. So you can see one finishing here, and on the row above, it's finishing 1 stitch above it. And then likewise here, and that just keeps coming through. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just compare it to the other swatch that we had previously done. Now these 2 swatches were started at different points in the yarn. Same crochet out, same tension, same width, but the pattern has come out totally different. So they're not quite the same size, but in this one, the pink is more the line's thicker, and the burgundy hot pink line is a bit thicker as well. So it just goes to show you that different brands of yarn and different colour pools of yarn will each create their individual pattern, and even starting from different points in the ball will create a different pattern as well. So you can use these for many different things. Personally, I've been using them as dishcloths. I like to run up a square and use it as a dishcloth for wiping down my benches, cleaning windows, anything like that. Now, I personally leave these because I like to stitch them on, and it creates just a little hook for the dishcloth. But if you were using it for a scarf or a shawl or a cushion cover, or I've even seen this done with a beanie, you would just simply unpick the slip stitch and pull it out. Pull it out until you reach the beginning point, and then slip it on through. And that's it. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you've done this before. I plan to do this tutorial again, but with knitting, just so we can compare the two techniques. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll link the other videos below, and let me know if you'd like to see any other tutorials. Until next time, bye guys.